Today is all about Warcraft Rumble, who has kindly sponsored today's video. We're going to learn 10 tips on how to get started in Warcraft Rumble. Warcraft Rumble is an action strategy game that takes place in the basement of the Hearthstone Tavern. And down in the basement is a special arcade machine, which was created by the gnomes of Azeroth. This machine prints out miniatures of the heroes and villains of Warcraft, which are brought up to the top where a player can grab them, drop them on the board, and they come to life with a special energy called Arc Light. The minis try to advance their way down the field, taking over towers, and eventually trying to make it to a boss. Each boss in Warcraft Rumble has a special ability, which will require you to think differently on how to take them down. So let's start off with tip number 1. Understand the objective. Once you enter a battle, it's your objective to defend your base while advancing to defeat the boss. If your base dies, then your battle ends. There are meeting stones placed around the map. If you control the stones, then you can spawn minis closer to the boss. But if the enemy controls the stone, they can advance more quickly towards you. Plus, there are guard towers, which you can capture, which lets you have a forward position so you can attack the boss directly. And if you are unsure of what any enemy boss or mini does, you can pause the game and directly click on the unit to learn more. But remember, every enemy boss has a unique trait. From throwing boulders that deal splash damage to flying around the map, you'll need to devise specific strategies to defeat them all. Tip number 2, shiny, shiny, shiny. When you're in battle, make sure to focus on obtaining gold mines and chests to keep up the gold advantage. If your opponent obtains gold, then they will be able to deploy more minis. So it's important to always do your best to stop their minis from farming the gold while you are defending your base. Tip number 3, unbound minis. Normal minis have a restricted deployment zone in the blue areas around your barracks. But minis with the unbound trait can be placed anywhere in the map. This gives them a huge competitive advantage when it comes to deployment. You can place unbound units behind enemies for a surprise attack, or even to lure splash damage in a different direction. Plus, you can use unbound minis to prevent the enemy from farming gold. So that's why it's key to have at least one unbound mini in every deck. Tip number 4. Deploying in pairs. When you deploy minis, it's best to deploy your minis in pairs and not alone. This allows them to work together. For example, deploying a tank in front of a weaker mini will allow the tank to absorb the shots, while the weaker mini does the higher damage per second. Or even pair ground and air minis together so they can deal with any type of mini coming their way. Tip number 5, learn the families. Families are critical to a mini's identity, which include Alliance, Horde, Undead, Blackrock, and Beast. Each of the families have leaders associated with them. If you pair certain leaders with certain minis, you'll gain bonuses and buffs. Notice as I click on different leaders, different minis come up. That is because you set a specific deck for each leader that you take into a battle. Once you click on a leader, take a look at the top row of icons. If your mini icon matches that icon, you will receive a boost. And you can tell by clicking the button, and if it says active, then that mini will gain a level. But notice, the far right side, that icon doesn't match. But I'm still getting a boost. That's because that mini's trait matches the icon. You can search for the trait below by clicking the filter and selecting the same icon. Then your deck below will only show minis that contain that trait. Tip number 6, learn the home screen navigation bar. Let's start on the left side with the store. This is where you will spend your gold to unlock minis. Scroll down, you can purchase items in the game. Scroll down even more, and this is where you can get free daily offers, so be sure to check back here every few hours to unlock the items. Next is the army. This is where you will create each leader's deck. Whichever leader you have currently selected is the current leader your minis will be using in your next battle. So if you want to switch leaders and minis, this is where you come to do that. Then scroll down and you can view all the minis you have unlocked, with finally your available emotes at the bottom. This is where you can be expressive in your games if you'd like. Next is the map, and this is where you will be progressing in the single player campaign. Each boss that you beat will unlock a sigil and gold. The more sigils you unlock, the further you can progress. Then you use the gold to unlock more minis in the store. But we'll talk more about gold very soon. But take notice, twice a week there will be what's called an Arc Light Surge. And this is where you can earn a ton of gold on maps you've previously beaten. Also, you see the quest and PvP buttons. If you click on quest, this is where you can earn specific rewards for individual minis, leveling them up even further. You can do this in an unlimited amount of times, but usually it's only worth it to play when it's a 5 times or 3 times bonus quest. Then next to that is the PvP. That is where you can battle other players live and rank up in the leaderboard. You can't pause these matches like the single player campaign. Next is the events, where you can enter the dungeon. The dungeon is a 3-map gauntlet where if you clear it, then you can power up your deck slots. So playing in the dungeon is a great way to make your decks very strong. And finally is the social tab, where you can join a guild with 15 other players to unlock even greater rewards. Tip number 7, spend your gold. Make sure to spend your gold in the store to unlock minis. The more minis you unlock, the more benefits you'll gain. You can check your benefits by checking your profile. But be sure not to save your gold for something you think will be important when you first start out. Your first goal should be to unlock every mini in the game. Don't worry about getting stars for your current minis or leaders. First, focus on unlocking every mini even if you won't use them. You get more bonuses for having it unlocked. Tip number 8, the grid. This button will refresh all minis available to be purchased with gold. You only have a limited number of red buttons, so be careful when you want to push it. But for those who just start playing, you don't really need to use it since it's your goal to unlock every mini. Tip number 9, understand the ranks. As you progress in the game, you'll be leveling up your minis. You can see the level of your mini in your army along with your leader. The levels of your minis and leaders will tell you what other similar level bosses you can battle for a fair fight. If you take a look at the map, you can click on the campaign. You can see the level next to the boss. What you'll want is to have each one of your minis close to that level prior to battling that boss. If you're too low, then that boss will be way too hard to battle and you'll most likely lose. But hey, nothing's impossible. And tip number 10, a tier list. Be sure to check out tier lists like this one available at warcraftrumble.gg, where it tells you the best minis in the game. It's important to learn this because then you'll be able to level up the proper minis that the community agrees are the strongest. This will save you so much time and resources when you first start and prevent you from upgrading the wrong type of mini. Thank you to Warcraft Rumble for sponsoring today's video. You can download Warcraft Rumble by clicking the link below in the description. See you in game.